Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Live and Local. I'm PATV Executive Director Josh Goding. Now, all week long, our neighbors upstairs at Uptown Bill's Coffee House are going to be having special events to commemorate the life and spirit of local legend Bill Sackter. Bill Sackter was a mentally disabled man whose fame became the subject of 2 television movies, and his legacy has helped improve the perception of disabled Americans. Let's go upstairs and visit our neighbors at the coffee house named for Bill Sackter to get the whole story. I'm here with Executive Director of Extend the Dream, Tom Gilsenan.
Hello, welcome to Uptown Bill's. Come in. This is our main room. It's often set up with tables and chairs, and we're just transforming it now for open mic for tonight. And as part of open mic, we're actually showing a film, so we're getting together the pieces for that. It's our first time trying to show a film at open mic. We'll see how this works. Excellent. All these books that you see are for sale. There are between 4,000 and 5,000 books, we believe, here.
You have a great sci-fi collection too.
Yes, somebody called today and offered us lots more, and we got to talking, and it seems to me there are a lot of people giving away sci-fi books. So we concluded that what's happening is that they're all going to gather in Hickory Hill Park on May 1st and meet the spaceship. Biggest selection of soda pop in town. More flavors than anybody else.
Beers.
And 10 root beers, 10 ginger ales, 8 cream sodas, and we have more coming tomorrow. This is our other room, our community room, meeting room. We have meetings here of one type or another every single day. And as you can see, we have an art exhibit on the walls. Each month this art changes. And this particular one, the artwork is for sale too. That's not always the case. Then every day there are meetings in here. Let's see, today is Thursday, so there were 1, 2, 3 meetings here today. One was an AA meeting, another was a group that's planning for the summer, and then another support group meeting. That's a typical day.
Will you show us your soda counter?
Sure. People who live in Iowa City will remember Pearson's ice cream, and Pearson's drugstore with an ice cream counter, soda fountain, and this is the actual counter. When Pearson's closed,
this is great.
We managed to get it. It's great. It's also extremely heavy, so cleaning underneath it, moving it to clean, quite
Tom, tell us a little bit about the life of Bill Sackter and why it's been so influential to your organization.
Bill came from Minnesota in the 1970s to Iowa City. Bill was born April 13th, 1913 in St. Paul. And then he lived in Minneapolis for a few years. I think he was 7 when he was sent away to the state hospital. He'd spent about 50 years in one of those big old state mental hospitals that every state used to have. The original idea for those hospitals was they were places where people would get treatment and training and schooling and then go back to their communities. But in fact, that never happened. In the 1960s, there was an effort to change that and send people back to their communities. Bill went back to Minneapolis. His family was long gone, but he met a young couple, Barry and Bev Morrow. Barry was a collector of interesting people, and Barry actually met Bill at a party. His wife worked at a country club, so that's where they became friends. Bill worked at the country club, and Bev worked there also. And Bill became like a friend and also an uncle after they had their first child. Barry was offered a job here in Iowa City, came, and Bill ended up coming with them. Well, this is a lot smaller town than Minneapolis. And remember, this is 40 years ago, so it was still hard for an individual with disabilities to find a job. What eventually emerged was a little coffee shop in North Hall. It's still there. And Bill held forth there from about 1975 until he died in 1983. Barry was hired as an audiovisual specialist. He decided it would be a great idea to write a story about Bill. He wrote a story, and that it evolved into his first screenplay, which was a movie called Bill. Mickey Rooney played Bill, and Dennis Quaid, a young Dennis Quaid, played Barry in that film, and it was released in 1981, and it was a big hit, bigger than I think than anybody expected. Those were his first efforts at screenwriting, and he eventually moved to California, and his best known film is Rain Man. He's been to visit us. He was here last year for what would have been Bill's 100th birthday. Bill died right before the second movie was released in 1983. But the coffee shop stayed, and it's still there, still in North Hall. It's still individuals with disabilities and student volunteers who are the primary staff. And we're an outgrowth of that original project. One night I referred to us as a bigger, badder Bill's, because it includes not only the coffee shop, but the bookshop and the performance venue and some other projects which were in another building about a mile away from here, an antique store and a store with actual records in it. The goal in each is to have people of all abilities working and volunteering together. So in fact, just a couple of hours ago, the driver of the bus, the city bus that Bill rode, was here reminiscing about Bill getting on the bus and Bill getting off the bus, some of the stories he told. Bill would take the bus over to campus, and initially he would sometimes forget where his stop was. And this is dramatized in the first movie, where Barry is trying to show him the bus, and so he's waiting there at the stop where he's supposed to get off, and Bill doesn't get off, and here's Barry running after the bus. In fact, when Bill first saw that movie, he was sitting in a Hampshire auditorium. It was a pre-screening, if you will. And so he turned to the person next to him with the bus scene, and he says, "Well, that's okay. That happens to me sometimes too." He didn't quite get that this character that Mickey Rooney was playing was actually him. He believed it was Mickey Rooney, as far as anybody could tell. A fair amount of this has been captured in a new documentary called A Friend Indeed, the Bill Sackter story, which has been on Iowa Public Television a couple of times this last year, and it may soon be available to other public television stations around the country. We have been holding a party each year on his birthday, and now for the last several years the primary event of the party has been a Saturday bash, which includes music all day, and we refer to it as a different band and a different cake every hour. So it starts at 10 in the morning and goes until the evening, and local musicians really like to play for this. At the original Wild Bill's coffee shop on Monday, which will be the 14th of April, they are having cake and ice cream at noon and singing happy birthday and that sort of thing. We actually have Bill's hat right here. This is the hat he wore, and his harmonica. Tonight, somebody who's reading a reminiscence about Bill is going to wear the hat. And on Saturday at 4 o'clock, we're going to have a harmonica salute to Bill, and we're inviting everyone who wants to come and bring a harmonica, and we're all going to try to play Happy Birthday together at 4 p.m. We did this last year too. We actually did it twice. The first time, it's just good we did it a second time. It sounded much better. The first time you wondered what was going on. But it was a great...
You have to be able to play harmonica to participate?
No, not at all, not at all. And you can pick one of those ones up at the dollar store if you want, or your grandpa's really nice one, or anything in between. Everybody's welcome.
Well, Uptown Bill's has become a real national venue for great musical performances. What are some of the acts that have impressed you here, and what are you looking forward to?
Oh, it's just been a wonderful assortment of local and touring bands and performers. When I came back, I never expected that this would be part of what we do, but the people who book shows around the region tell us that we've become an important venue. They refer to us as a listening room, meaning it's a place where musicians play and the audience listens, as opposed to a bar or other places where that doesn't happen. Again, that we just sort of happened into that or stumbled into it, but it's really become a key thing. And more than one musician has been on stage and then suddenly stopped playing and saying, "You're all staring at me. I love it, but I don't know, I'm not used to this. Let me tell you about the bar I was in last night." And then other musicians will jump off the stage, just a small jump, at the end of the show, and they'll say, "This is the best place I've ever played." And that makes us feel pretty good too. We have music every Saturday night, all summer long, and we're booked now through December, next December. And then we have music one or two other nights a week too. Like next week after open mic, there's a band playing, a local band called Sapwood. So we've just become this wonderful place. Plus these other things, open mic and poetry, and something we call Slices, which is theater scenes. We do that once a month. Its official name is Slices, Performance, and Pie. If you come and you're part of it, you get pie. But in between, we do lots of smaller things. We're planning to have a little potluck brunch on Easter Sunday. We're planning to have something involving art and bikes on Memorial Day. So about once a month, there's some kind of, what would you say, adventure that includes or that's aimed at the larger neighborhood besides just us.
Tom, how can the public find out about what's going on at Uptown Bill's?
There's several ways. One is to just come visit, and we have calendars on the table by the front door. We have a website. It's uptownbills.org. We have a half a dozen different Facebook pages that have been started at one time or another. There's a basic one for Uptown Bill's Coffee House. There's one for the books. There's one for the Vintage Shop, which, as I mentioned, is another project about a mile away. There's one called Friends of Bill's Coffee Shops, which includes us and Wild Bill's. Right now we're looking for volunteers for the summer. And we'd love it if people would contact us and we can tell them more. And they can contact us through the webpage or call us or send us an email, uptownbills@gmail.com. This spring we're experimenting with live blogging from concerts, and we're doing a lot of photo and film things that are uploaded immediately right during the concert. At any given time we have 12 to 15 volunteers who are part of the things we're doing here. Tonight, for example, there'll be 3 or 4 people who are here as part of open mic who are helping out. Jim, who I first met at Wild Bill's Coffee Shop about 10 years ago, and then we lost touch with each other and ran into each other somewhere, and he's a regular Thursday night volunteer. And then Kayla and Tyler, and Rachel, who's been a volunteer for about 3 years, continues to come on Thursday nights.
You didn't know Bill Sackter, did you?
I did not. I knew Barry at the time he met Bill. Barry was a student at the University of Minnesota, taking a few courses to finish up his degree. But I may have met Bill, but I don't remember him. I remember Barry had a band, and he used to take Bill along. Bill would play the harmonica in the band, but if I met him, I just don't recall that. So, and he died before I came here. I got involved with the original Wild Bills when I was a graduate student, and then I went away, and then I was recruited to come back and work on Uptown Bills. So his spirit is certainly around, and there are more than once when things have gotten kind of crazy in the coffee house when I say, gee, I hope the spirit of Bill is going to work today because we need it here, and to settle things down or calm some troubled waters.
Well, thanks for talking to us about the Bill Sackter celebration and telling us a little bit about Uptown Bills.
Thanks for coming by. Do come again.
Hi, I'm Callie Bredhauer in your neighborhood. What better way to show the greatness of Uptown Bills than to cover one of their very own events? Tonight, the coffee shop is hosting Bob Fest, an open mic night dedicated to Bob Dylan's 73rd birthday. 15 performers are lined up, each one performing one of the artist's famous songs. Let's go inside and check it out. And what song did you perform for us today?
It's All Over Now, Baby Blue by Bob Dylan. I don't remember which album, but it was in the mid-'60s.
So do you perform often, or was this a one-time thing because you're a fan of Bob Dylan?
No, I write songs, and I usually do my own songs, and I prefer to sing original material because nobody's heard it yet. When I get an opportunity like this one, I'll perform. And that arrangement I did of It's All Over Now, Baby Blue could only be done on the bass, and it's just too bad how you have a brain fart in the middle of a performance and you have to read, and then it's not there, you have to turn the page. I hate it when that happens, but I struggle to not need the words in front of me, but that's a weird song. It has words that fit well together and are meaningful, but it's just real hard to remember where they are.
It's all over now, baby. For her age, she is wise.
What was the song you performed today?
It was called Lord Protect My Child. It was recorded in 1983 for the Infidels album sessions, but it didn't actually make it on the album. So it wasn't actually released until the very first bootleg series release.
And was there any particular reason why you picked that song?
I've always loved that song. That's all, really. And I guess ever since I became a dad, I've loved that song.
Do you perform at Uptown Bills often?
I have a bunch of times. It's been a while.
And how would you compare it to like other venues in the area?
Oh, it's a unique venue for sure. For one thing, it's not a bar. It's a coffee house, which is different. There's not a lot of coffee house opportunities in this town. But also just the whole community vibe has always been real crucial to Uptown Bills. You know, I've played at Uptown Bills, like I said, a lot of times, and I remember when it was up around the corner, like a few blocks away. That was a cool space. It had all these cool little shops in there and stuff that were run by disabled people, and it seems to have really taken off. It's such a great community thing, you know, and it's through the School of Social Work at the UI, and it's just a cool project for sure.
Lord, 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 protect my child. Thank you all so much.
One time, I was being interviewed on the radio, and they asked me who my influences were.
You know, I said so and so and so and so, and then I said, and of course Bob Dylan. And then I said, but, you know, to be a songwriter and say you're influenced by Bob Dylan is like being a mammal and saying that you're influenced by oxygen.
So now, since it never happens any other time, I just keep saying it over and over again.
And is Bob Dylan one of your favorite artists?
Oh yes, I've been deep in the Bob Dylan woods for many years.
I think he's a lot of people's favorite artist. He's one of the most prolific artists. He's done a whole body of work that I've never heard, that I don't even know what it is. And then I'll be listening to the radio and they'll be going, by Bob Dylan, and something that somebody's arranged like that, you know? And it's like, whoa, what a cool song.
What great performances here tonight. Be sure to check out Uptown Bill's Facebook and website to see what latest events are happening here. Thank you for watching. I'm Callie Brett Hauer in your neighborhood on Your Neighborhood Network, PATV Channel 18.